Be Wealthy and Smart, episode 842.
Step into a world of wealth and financial freedom without budgets, boredom, or bosses on Be Wealthy and Smart. And now, here's your host, Linda P. Jones.
Welcome to Be Wealthy and Smart. I'm Linda P. Jones, America's Wealth Mentor, empowering women and men worldwide to financial freedom. On today's show, we are going to talk about an emergency survival kit for you. Because stay with me on this, no matter where you live, emergencies can happen. And right now in the United States, we have about 15 states that are in one form of emergency or another. Specifically, Texas is in a bad way right now. And for all of our listeners who are in Texas, we're praying for you, for your temperatures to warm up, for the ice to melt, for you to have food and water and power again and heat in your homes. This is a real tragedy, and this has made me think that I wanted to do this podcast to talk about you being prepared for any kind of emergency that might come up. Now, I have been talking throughout the year in the past 12 months or so, and probably longer than that, about having emergency supplies. I often talk about having food and water, extra cash on hand, and maybe some extra medicines and some silver, or maybe even some things to barter. But we're going to talk really specifically today about how you can prepare an emergency survival kit. Because what I hate to see is people not prepared for an emergency. And unfortunately, in a lot of these states that are in freezing temperatures right now, people are running out of food and water. They've been out of power for a few days, and they're not surviving this very well in general. So we want to make sure that everyone can survive no matter what happens, whether it's a cold spell or loss of power, whether it is an earthquake, whether it's a hurricane or tornado or any kind of tragedy that can happen, whether it's a natural disaster or fire or anything. We want you to have thought this through and have some supplies on hand so that you can get through whatever time period you might need to get through. And I think that it's possible that we see more of these rolling power outages and more natural disasters as we get into a time and cycles where these things are becoming more and more common. So this is another reason why I want everybody to be prepared. It doesn't have to cost a lot of money, and you can do it over time. You don't have to do it right away. You can do a little bit every week or every month and gradually get yourself prepared. Buy a little bit extra every time you go to the store, or get a little bit more cash back at the grocery store and put it away. And save up for the extra cash that you want to have on hand. So we're going to talk about 22 items that I think you should think about, plan for, consider having in your emergency survival kit. And these are in no particular order, really. So it might apply to you more or less depending on what kind of a climate you live in, what kind of temperature, whether you're near the coast or near the mountains. You might need to make some adjustments, but these are just suggestions for you. And one more thing, there's a lot of websites that are survivalist websites, but you have to be careful because a lot of those are simply trying to sell you something. They're just wanting you to come and click through and buy so they make a commission. And they don't always put a lot of thought into maybe what they're suggesting. It's more about trying to make a sale or trying to make you panic or get you emotional so that you'll buy their items. So I'm not going to provide any sourcing for you. There's nothing for you to click through to and buy. These are just items I want you to think about, look for at the store, maybe go to your local sporting goods or camping store in some cases. Maybe in other cases, you're going to a Costco or a dollar store or a Target. There's different places that you can go and buy the items on sale. You don't have to buy them all at once. So you can take your time putting it together. But let's talk about some things that you should have in your survival kit, because watching these people in Texas, I'm seeing kind of a pattern of things that people wish they had done that would have been good basics for them to have covered. And in many cases, they didn't have the basics covered. And therefore, they find themselves out in the cold in a long line waiting to get gas or propane tanks filled or food or water. It's something that can turn into a dire situation very, very quickly if you don't have the basics. So let's talk about what those are. All right. First of all, no matter what, you want to have water on hand. You want to have both bottled water and you want to have gallons of water. So the bottled water is an individual serving of water, so you can give that to other people or you can take it with you if you're being mobile. And the gallons are for longer term, hunker down drinking water. So I have all different sizes of water at my house. I have some individual bottles, but honestly, most are usually a gallon to 3 gallon supplies of water that I buy every single week at the grocery store. I'm always picking up extra water, usually at least 2 to 3.5 gallons a week. You also want to have excess cash on hand. That's because credit cards don't work when the power goes out and you need hard cash. So you've got to have the singles because people won't have change to be able to give you. So you can't have all 20s. You got to have a lot of ones, some 5s, some 10s, but make sure you've got a lot of singles in your cash pile. You also need to have some food on hand. Now, there's a couple different ways you can do the food. You can do the canned food and some boxed food that can stay for a long time at your house without any power. You might have some backup frozen food, but keep in mind, if you lose power, that food is not going to stay good very long. So you can't rely on your freezer for food. And then you have longer term food that you can buy that are like MRE type food supplies. So those are longer term freeze-dried food or food that can last for years. And there's certain manufacturers that you can go to online and buy that. So I have some of all of that. And that's in case that there is a much longer term situation. I have food that can last for months in that case. So you need food for a few days in your refrigerator and your freezer, a few weeks in your cupboards, and then food for a few months is a whole different planning process. So just think about that. You also want to have really warm clothes. So you want to make sure you've got the socks, the hat, the jacket, the boots that could go out in a snowy situation or an icy situation. So make sure that you've got the warm clothes. And then you also want to have a backpack. And this could be for a bug out bag, having everything already stored in there. Here in California, we have bug out bags in case of earthquakes. So we have supplies for ourselves and our pets already put away in a bag. And I keep that stored away, ready to go in case we needed to leave the house in a hurry. All right, that all falls under number 1. Number 2 is have something to barter. That's because food can run short and a lot of people can get hungry very quickly and they don't care about money in that case. They don't want your money. They want your food or something else that you have that they could barter with you for supplies. So having some extra alcohol on hand, whether that's wine, beer, hard liquor, cans of liquor, that could be CBD, that could be some medical supplies, that could be chocolate and candy, and it can also be something really basic like a box of matches or candles. So barter can come in all different forms. It just depends what people really need and what's really valuable to them at that time. But usually food, and if it's an ongoing situation, probably having some alcohol to use for barter is going to come in handy in case of a longer term situation. People are going to be looking for a way to ease their pain mentally as well as physically. Number 3, I think it's also a good idea to have some silver on hand. Now, I've urged you to have physical silver anyway for investment purposes, and I still am, but right now it's getting very, very hard to get, almost impossible to get. But if you have physical silver, that's also a good thing to have on hand. Many states have now approved silver as a currency, so you could actually use that in certain situations in certain states. Number 4, make sure you have flashlights and batteries. It's a good idea to have an assortment of different flashlights, from the really big heavy-duty ones that are really fancy that can do strobe lights and really strong lights far away, to the ones that are smaller that you could just use in the house, maybe smaller ones for the children. So getting an assortment of sizes of flashlights is a great idea. And of course, you need batteries and backup batteries for all of those flashlights, so don't forget that. Number 5, a first aid kit and medicines, some antibiotics perhaps, or antibacterial ointment, or any kind of Band-Aids, alcohol, antiseptic, aspirin, allergy medicine. All of those things are very, very good to have in your first aid kit. Number 6, blankets and sleeping bags. So the people in Texas right now that are really freezing, they are trying to stay warm, and they're having to go out in their car and warm up in the car. And then the car is running low on gas, and then they've got to wait in the line to get gas. So if there's any way that you can create a system of warmth at home inside, that's a good thing without giving yourself carbon monoxide poisoning. So having things like sleeping bags where you can all kind of cuddle up together in your sleeping bags and try and use body heat to stay warm, blankets. Number 7 is candles and tea candles. And an ingenious thing I saw was using tea candles and putting an upside down clay pot on top of it, a large orange clay pot, and then the pot coaster for the pot on top of that so that the heat does not escape through the clay pot hole at the top. So you've got this pot turned upside down, you've got the candles underneath it, you've got the pot maybe on some bricks so that it's suspended above the candles, and then the heat goes up into the pot, heats the clay pot radiates and also continues to produce heat from just these small tea candles. So an assortment of tea candles, tall candles, maybe some gas lanterns for light, but anything that can help you kind of create an oven or create an oven-like situation that could warm up a room in a very primitive way would be very, very helpful. Number 8, having gas and propane on hand so that you do have ways to fill back up these energy sources that are providing warmth for you. Number 9, a camping stove. So have a way to be able to heat water, to be able to boil water. The people in Texas need to boil water for 2 minutes before they're able to drink it. So they need to have a way to heat the water and boil it. And a lot of people don't have any power, so they didn't have an energy source to do that. So having a camping stove can be a great way to do that. Number 10, have some extra knives, like an extra army knife that has all the different attachments. It has scissors, it has the knife, it has a can opener, it has all those attachments to it. That can be very, very helpful. Number 11 is duct tape. Having duct tape can be a lifesaver to attach things, to tie things together, to seal things off. This is irreplaceable in terms of its flexibility of use, and it's a great thing to have on hand. Number 12, having some sort of tarps with rope and something to have a makeshift fort or a makeshift roof situation could be also very helpful. Number 13, hand sanitizer and bleach. Again, sometimes you need to clean up a situation, make it sanitary. These can be indispensable. Number 14, garbage bags. Garbage bags can be used to haul things around. They can be used to collect garbage. They can be used to put food in and to transfer to different people. There's lots of reasons why garbage bags can be very, very handy, and you want both the 13-gallon size as well as the big garden size. Number 15, toilet paper. I said this wasn't in any particular order, and of course you want to have toilet paper, but I know everybody already went out and got toilet paper this year, so you're already good there. But of course you want to have extra rolls of toilet paper. Number 16, a solar cell phone charger. So one of the things that's your lifeline when you're out of power is your communication tool, and most people are using their cell phone, but the batteries are running low, and then they have no way to recharge them except in their car. So then they're having to go to their car, turn that on, try and recharge their phone. That can only last for so long. So if you could have a solar phone charger, that would be really helpful. Number 17, a solar thermos. Again, a solar thermos would help you heat water and be able to boil water, and also help you have a hot meal. Number 18, your pet supplies. So you want to have your pet's leash, your pet's bowl, and water for your pet, and also extra food for your pet and any other things that your pet requires. Number 19, you want to have matches or a lighter, or multiple of those. Big boxes of matches and lighters are very, very helpful, and you're going to need a lot of them. Number 20, wood and newspaper that can start a fire. So a lot of people are running out of wood, and they're using wood, of course, to keep their home warm, but they're running out of wood. So having enough wood for more than just a couple days can be very important. You need to have wood for at least a week, and I would say more if you can. Number 21, a battery radio. So it is often your only way to connect with other people or find out what's going on if you have a radio. So having a battery operated radio can be very, very important. And last but not least, number 22, write down your emergency information. Unfortunately, nowadays, everything's in our phone, so we don't even know some of our closest friends or relatives' phone numbers anymore. So write down the phone numbers, write down their addresses, write down any other address of a store or the nearest gas station or anything that you might need in an emergency. Write down the address so you have all those locations memorized. You know where you might need to go in case of emergency. You know what the address is in case you ever could hire an Uber or could get help from someone who's giving you a ride. You have a way to give them a physical location address of where you're trying to go. All right, well, that was a lot of things, but I hope it made you think, and I hope it makes you get more prepared for any kind of an emergency. This year is already starting out to be that kind of a year where we're going to need to do some more planning for emergencies. And I'm sure I've missed a whole bunch of things, but at least if you start thinking about these things, start doing some more planning, start spending on a regular basis to accumulate these extra emergency items that you need. It'll be a lot easier on the budget, and it'll be a lot more efficient to do it a little bit at a time than trying to go out and do this all at once. But nonetheless, get your cash on hand, your extra food, water right away, and make sure that you have those all handy. That really needs to be something that you've got done and off your list no matter what. And hopefully, if you do experience any kind of an emergency, whether it is this cold Arctic weather or whether it's something else, you'll be prepared, you'll be safe, you'll be able to weather through it very well, which will de-stress your life and allow you to not have to be out there running around, waiting in lines, hustling for things because you've already got everything taken care of. That's part of being wealthy and smart. That's all for today. Until next time, live the good life and be wealthy and smart.
Thank you for listening to Be Wealthy and Smart with Linda P. Jones. Share the wealth and tell your family and friends about the show. Check out our website, blog, and social media for more riches at www.bewealthyandsmart.com.